Really like the mariachi. I thought it was quite cool.
The
trumpet guy was just on the right side of bad to be good.
Yeah. Welcome to Cloud Realities, an original podcast from Capgemini, and this week co-sponsored by Microsoft. We're here at Ignite 2025 at the Moscone Center in rainy San Francisco. I'm Dave Chapman.
I'm Esmee van der Giesen.
And I'm Rob Kernahan.
And I'm delighted to say, on day 3, we have Alistair Speirs joining us. Alistair's the GM of Global Infrastructure at the Azure Business Group. They're right in the heart of the cloud right there, Alistair, at Microsoft. How are you doing this morning?
I'm great, thanks. Thanks for having me on the show.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. And before we get into the world of Ignite, quick spillage update, Robert?
I'm pleased to say there was no incident yesterday. I was nervous. I was very careful, but we're good.
So just for Alistair's benefit, on day 0, Rob spilt meat juice all over his trousers.
And on
at
you.
a steak restaurant and all over my arm.
Quite impressive coverage from how far it got. But yes, that happened.
And then day 1, Rob spilt red wine all over a table at the pizza thing, and then it ran under the table like a river and onto my bag, even though I was at the other end of the things. I caught flack second time in a row. And then last night you got through it all right.
I got through it fine, and we ate a burrito as well, which could have been or ended badly, but it didn't.
No, it didn't. You had an incident with the mirror.
Oh no!
In the tiki bar.
Rob, we were sitting in a tiki bar, which is actually recommended to us by one of your colleagues yesterday.
It was very good, Pagan Idol.
John Link.
Good.
Big shout out to John. What an absolutely brilliant recommendation. Yeah, what's it called?
Pagan Idol.
Pagan Idol. Really, really good spot. Anyway, so you go into Pagan Idol, you go into a front bar, and then you're there for a little bit, and then they do this big show thing, and they open this big back bar, and so it's quite a big, grander place, and there's like little booths.
Quite
you can sit in.
exciting.
So it's really,
well done.
quite
Very
good,
well
really
done.
well done. And then we're sitting in this booth, a couple of drinks later, and Rob's like, "Oh, I'm going to go and have a look in the third room." And we're like, "Is there a third room?" I'm not.
And it took like
sure.
3 seconds, and then he already came back. Oh no, it's a mirror.
It's a mirror.
Now, all I'm going to say is to the person who designed that bar, that is clearly what that mirror is intended to do, make the bar look bigger.
Oh, no question.
And it fooled me,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I had a few cups of tea.
Yeah.
So I was, the interior designer's done a fantastic job. That's my take on it, and I'm sticking with it.
So day 2, got away without a spillage.
Yeah, that's right.
Day 3, though,
Hey,
you're the spillage.
what do you mean?
Do you want to tell us about trying to cross a road this morning?
This conference isn't going well for me. The little yellow knobbles on the floor to help people tactile thing, they get a bit slippy in the rain.
Yeah.
And I was one head on, slipped, and almost ended up in the road at the side. It could have been a serious incident that, David.
I mean, it wouldn't have been great, would it?
No.
I mean, it would have been a dark end to the whole spillage series.
You'd have had to have done some eulogy for me or something on the show and then moved along quickly.
Yeah, like right off the cuff.
Yeah,
Only happened about 20 minutes ago. Be like, right, this is a bit of an unexpected announcement.
Could also be an invitation to do yoga.
Oh no, I'm not going there.
You're getting into more and more trouble every day.
I get
That
more
means-
trouble every day, but it's not me. I'm not doing
If
it.
you were a bit more sort of steady on your feet,
Yeah.
a little bit more in control, a little bit more centered.
Maybe
Not
he doesn't
slippering all over the place.
And maybe you don't shake as much as you do, so you spill less. No, there's heaps of reasons you should
Are
do
you
yoga.
just saying the answer to my woes is do yoga? Can you imagine? I mean, it's just
Alistair, how do you stand on yoga?
I think here we're in a bit of a blameless retrospective mode here for Rob. So that's good. This
What
is
went
building
wrong?
your resiliency.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
In Azure, we have a concept of a blast radius and geo-distribution. And what I'm hearing from this is don't sit next to Rob.
Or even at the other end of the table, to be honest.
Right, yeah.
I normally I'm all right, but this week it's just been I've been a disaster.
It's been a bit flaky, hasn't it?
Yes, not my finest hour. No.
Anyway, you got a chance now. You got a chance now to demonstrate the professional that you are, Robert. What else has gone on in the conference?
I was two quite interesting announcements we haven't quite talked about where external things have been integrated into the stack. Mm-hmm. So one of them was quite cool, actually, Sora 2. You've seen the quality of the videos that can create. That's now going to be available in 365 Copilot. And Anthropic's Claude is now available in Microsoft Foundry.
Yeah, it was a new partnership, wasn't it?
Yeah,
The
new
Anthropic
partnership to come in, and that's quite cool as well. So again, going back to that, switch your models out, use the one you want, being able to we discussed that with Rob on day one about the way that was going. So
yeah,
it's
like
quite cool.
the right model to build the better product rather than being slave to a specific model.
Yeah, and how the models change over time, and you can elect to use the one that you want. So I thought the two external things arriving, accessible.
Very good.
That's quite cool. And quite excited about Sora 2, actually, because I don't know if you've ever done it, but,
Is that the sequel to Sora 1?
Yeah, let's go there. And, like the classics. So, the way I asked AI to write me haikus?
I do.
I don't know if you ever tried to write a haiku. It's really, really difficult. AI can do it really well.
That's right.
And then it allowed me to
It's
create...
fooled Rob into thinking AI is actually intelligent.
We spent billions of dollars making work.
Millions of dollars. But I get absolutely outstanding haikus out of it. And I can also generate cat pictures in funny scenes. So that's quite cool as well. Now I can turn them all into a video with a cat talking my haiku. I mean, life couldn't
it's
worth
much
the
better,
billions.
could it?
I'm going to say thank you for the billions worth of investment for my talking cat videos.
But it brings joy, and that's what's important.
Yeah,
really.
happiness.
It's important. It's why he doesn't need yoga.
Oh, that's it.
I'm happy just with the
satisfied. It's satisfied.
I would like to suggest that for the next conference, you wake us up at breakfast with a haiku every day.
Okay.
I'm not sure I can cope with that.
I think this is just a Sora prompt. It's Rob doing yoga, reciting haikus. Yeah.
Marcel, did you hear that? Yeah. Right, back on with the show.
What are we talking about?
What I was going to say is try to be professional and say, what stood out from you, Alistair, at the show this week in terms of your colleagues' announcements and anything major coming from your space?
Yeah, I think it's just great to be back at Ignite. Every year is amazing. And I think this year, it kind of feels like the pre-COVID vibe again. We had a few years of virtual conferences and hybrid conferences, but now it's definitely back and
twice as big, I think, in attendance, isn't it, as last year?
That's right. Yeah. So it's just an excellent vibe, the whole conference. AI is obviously topical for everyone. So there's a lot of conversations about AI, the new capabilities in Copilot, the new capabilities in Foundry, and other capabilities. But I'm an infrastructure guy, so I've been focused kind of on the infrastructure announcements and building out.
None of the other stuff works without it, dude.
That's right. Yeah. So much for serverless. That's gone out the wayside. It's all about the servers now.
That's a good point, isn't it?
So we announced our Cobalt 200, our next generation ARM CPU. Yeah. So
very cool.
Very excited about that. It's a 50% performance gain.
Right.
Our new Fairwater data centers, these new AI super factories now coming online, are pretty impressive as well.
Just for those of us who haven't seen it, just like get into the physicality of that compared to, say, one of the normal Azure data centers.
Yeah. So if you think about these new designs, these Fairwater designs, they're really built from the ground up to be a Grace Blackwell facility. And so as you think about that, it's liquid cooling from the onset. Facility grade liquid cooling, hundreds of thousands of GPUs, a very dense networking structure. And to make it even better, they're networked together on an entirely separate network so that the GPUs in one data center can essentially bypass the WAN and talk to a GPU in another data center.
So that separate network is a wide area network?
Essentially, it runs parallel to the wide area network, an AI WAN, if you like, that runs on top of next to the traditional network LAN. And so what you get here is multiple AI data centers that are all composed together into this massive distributed, what we're calling a super factory, in this case. Yeah.
Well, in that second network, without wanting to get maybe too nerdy on it, but also because I'd run out of my technical ability to have the conversation quite quickly.
We are bottoming out now with a.
Is it like that's the new secondary network you just described? What protocol is that? Is that like a networking protocol, or is it something totally different?
It's a very interesting protocol that runs there, because really what you're building is a network connection that's defined by the app. And so the app, in this case, a training job or something like that, really needs to be location aware. So if there are tasks that are hyper low latency, you want to address the GPU next to you.
Yeah.
If there are tasks that you can wait a few milliseconds, you can go somewhere further in the cluster. If you can wait tens of milliseconds, try another data center.
Right.
And so this idea here is a very different type of network than kind of the old broadcast TCP, subnets and nested networks as well. It's very much a flat network.
I don't think people appreciate how much engineering effort needs to go into building something like that. It's very complicated, and sort of it's the unseen hero of the situation because it's enabling so much above. It goes back to the point about without any of this, it doesn't work. I can't get my cat video without all of this stuff.
When I used to talk to when I first started, I started in data centers and infrastructure pre-cloud, like building your own one sort of thing. And I used to try and describe to my dad what I did.
Yeah.
He had absolutely no idea. He's not particularly digitally savvy.
That's right.
And I used to your point about engineering, I used to say, well, if you imagine somebody built a bridge from here to America, sort of the same sort of thing. That's the kind of thing that I'm doing. And so I'd say that, sorry, because I think the engineering sometimes at that level, sometimes taken for granted or whatever, but that sub-second decision making that you're talking about, I mean, that's some sophisticated stuff over a wide area.
It's crazy, and it starts to run into the laws of physics.
Yeah, exactly.
And so even down to the optical fiber network, we're having to re-engineer optical fiber to make the speed of light networking essentially run faster. So hollow core networking technologies and all these other things, it's kind of wild.
It is
a wild area right now. Yeah,
I think you guys are probably going to be the ones who work out how to go faster than the speed of light in a spaceship, sir.
Yeah.
Just try to repurpose the technology somehow.
That's right, yeah.
Is it going to be like a James Bond moment where the data center opens up and a rocket comes out? That's the sort of like
I'd love that to be
Thunderball moment.
That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? Yeah. So give us a paint a picture. Like you're running one of the major clouds in the world, constant scaling, kind of higher and higher sort of demands on the platform. What's the day-to-day like in that conversation? It's a bit like, remember the Kiefer Sutherland show 24, where like every hour there's a major thing that you have to deal with, or is it calmer these days? What's it like?
The most interesting thing on the infrastructure side is you're dealing with technologies that have different lifespans and different delivery approaches. And so the longest lead time kind of capabilities in infrastructure right now is sourcing power. And so these power purchase agreements that Microsoft is signing around the world often last for decades. And before you can even start to think about building a data center, you need to make sure you have the electricity, the energy supply. Yeah. You need to work with your grid operators that you can add additive capacity, zero carbon or renewable energy to the grid as well. And so that's kind of this very long lead time.
Yeah,
so as we think about macro capacity planning, we're really thinking about where do we need energy and how much energy do we need in the decades ahead of time.
Right.
Then as you think about the facility itself, there's a concrete project. There's the building, the infrastructure, the steel, the construction, and that's a long, complex, relatively waterfall project.
That's the thing about building stuff, isn't it? Everybody wants to go, can we iterate this? No, we're building something. Sorry.
Exactly.
you gotta get the pour at the right time in the right order.
And so how do you make sure that facility is flexible enough to really adjust to the agile stuff that goes in it? And then next level down, of course, is the hardware. And building the hardware, the systems that go into this facility, how much power will they need? How much networking capability will they need? What's the weight of all of the cables that will be running through that data center? And you think about, and Scott Guthrie mentioned in his keynote, like 5 million cables now in one of these Fairwater data centers. And so the weight of that alone means we have to reinforce the cable runs across the data center. That becomes like a welding problem.
And
then, of course, the silicon. And, taking advantage of the next generation silicon and put that in. And so you see at the hardware level, then you've got, 5 to 6 year sort of lifespan as well. And then the software level, you can change it in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, it's not as code, is it? You can't just go, I didn't like that cable run.
Exactly. And
redo
so
it.
Managing all of these like multiple timelines and mixing them together, and this kind of multidisciplinary process where the silicon engineer is really talking to the machine learning engineer and talking to the facility, like civil engineer. They all need to come together to make the whole thing work, which is really fascinating. It's just not something you can do with a 2-pizza team anymore.
What does that require from a cultural and a team perspective?
It's a lot of collaboration, and it's the amount of sharing these projects and different teams, bringing them together, working across, and not just Microsoft, but our partners, customers, municipal governments, utility providers, and so it's very much a massive collaborative project, and that needs to be done as well.
Quite a mismatch of cultures as well, I'm sure, with different organizations having to come together, because normally when you're in the same organization you kind of get the way the tick rate works.
That's
but
right.
There's all that just orchestrating it must be a nightmare.
That's right. We like to joke that we're, in addition to the world's largest software company, we're also the world's largest construction company.
Yeah, civil engineering.
Yeah.
It's like, isn't it? I think it's McDonald's are one of the world's largest real estate companies.
That's right,
Yeah. They happen to sell burgers.
Exactly. And so the cloud, is, as we think about the cloud, and we often think about cloud as this kind of software product, but really a cloud is a service. A cloud is something you do. It's not necessarily something you build. And so in addition to building all this stuff, we have to then operate it every day.
Yeah.
Outages, capacity planning, weather events, political events, all of this thing comes together into this service that we have to run every day. And that's a big cultural shift as well from the old Microsoft and when I was in the Office team, it was great. We would ship every 3 years. You could set your watch on it.
Yeah.
There was a year of thinking about it, a year of developing it, and then a year of debugging it.
I love a 3-year cycle.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And if you were on the dev side, you could take 2 years off. If you're on the test side, you could take 2 years off.
Those were the days, weren't they?
Yeah, but now cloud, there's instant changes, and I don't even know the latest, but it's probably in the realm of like tens of thousands of changes that hit the cloud every day now. Just the rate of change is just astronomical.
And it's that move to new ways of working that's massively parallel, and it's all got to be designed so that when somebody far away does something, it doesn't interact or upset something over here. That takes a lot of effort to set that up.
Exactly. And it's all going on in the kind of broader context of businesses are digitizing. This digitization trend of more and more technology is coming into every sort of business process. And then in the wider world, more and more things are being electrified. This electrification that we take electricity for granted, and it's been around with us for a couple of 100 years now. But now with mobility, with transportation, more and more EVs, more and more heating is done with electricity now. And so just all of these things coming together to kind of make this moment right now is a really just fascinating time.
What would you say is like the key skill that you need to build besides the technical part? Because it also feels like expanding the way you collaborate with others, your communications. What do you see there? What would you suggest as like if you want to build a skill for the future in this complex ecosystem?
And this is something that we've been working on at Microsoft for a while, is really that growth mindset, that learning mindset, and that beginner mindset is so critical here as you need to work with new technologies and quickly understand and work with people from a very different walk of life, very different background, but understanding what that takes and being able to incorporate that into your worldview is just critical. So it's the collaboration plus that growth mindset that really makes this cloud work.
One of the other shifts I would observe perhaps over maybe the last, probably really accelerated in the last couple of years, but it's maybe coming for 5 years, is the notion of the cloud's not just one thing. And, when I did my first cloud transformation at BP, and that was probably 15 years ago at this point, unbelievably. It's slightly scarily. Feels like yesterday.
Yeah.
But at that point, you used to sort of architect for multiple regions, things like that, but you weren't really thinking of geography. It was like it abstracted away well above geography. And I actually, from an architectural point of view, found that very satisfying. But of course, some real world geopolitical comes into that at some point, and we end up in a world of sovereign cloud and varying different nuances around the need to supply different sets of services. What's your take on that? How challenging has that been to get your head around, like at the physical level?
Yeah, it's been fascinating. I mean, I started out in software development, and as a software developer, you're kind of it's beaten into you to abstract.
Yeah, totally.
Abstract away. Like, don't worry about pointers. Don't worry about memory.
There was
worry about
something highly
object-orientedness.
satisfactory of coming out of a owned physical data center and going to this abstracted notion of processing power.
Serverless, no ops, all these abstraction approaches. But I think in these moments of like high change, high disruption, whether that's technological, geopolitical, abstraction kind of lets you down. Like you've moved away from the kind of core principles. And, like we're talking about data centers, like data centers are fundamentally different to any on-premises infrastructure we used to have in server rooms. They look different, smell different, different skills are required. And so if you're still operating on that old worldview, when like the foundations are shifting around you, you're going to make bad decisions. And so I think that's, what's critical now is we're seeing concerns about the geopolitical situation, the technology's role in society, and regulators, policymakers are getting much more sophisticated as they get younger in understanding this technology and regulating this technology. And that's a good thing because having these kind of shared assumptions documented is really critical to make this technology that's increasingly become so critical to everything we do.
Yeah, digital permeates right through society. Society doesn't work without this type of technology. So if for some reason there's an issue, that can make a big issue for society. And I think now you're absolutely right. There's this understanding of how important it's become within our day-to-day. And so, we need to make sure we understand it properly. So I really like your point. Sometimes abstraction can let you down when you have to understand what's really going on under the covers.
Where do you think... And I'm sure you've actually got this written on a big plan in the modern version of your office wall sort of thing. But what does that shift look like for you guys over, say, the next 3 years? Like on that highly physical level?
Yeah, and so this has been a plan for us for quite some time at Microsoft. I mean, again, data centers aren't quick.
No.
Sourcing this power isn't quick either. But our approach now, if you like, years ago was that we need to bring in-country, low latency cloud capabilities around the world. And so that's really driven us to build over 400 data centers in 70 plus regions around the world because regulated industries, banks, financial services, public sector organizations, if the regulation wasn't there yet, the risk was. And so we had early signals that customers just feel more comfortable with infrastructure that is in their location, in their geography.
It seemed to start out and this is maybe a too lightweight take, so Robert, jump in on me when I'm off beam here, or out of my depth. But the sovereign conversation has really matured, I think, in the last few years. Like, I think it started out for me around data regulation. And then it's become much more sophisticated than just data regulation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've seen European Union just recently launched their SOV levels, SOV 0 to SOV 4. We see that creeping into the legislation. It's legal control, it's operational control, it's technology supply chain. I mean, there's conversations going on about rare earth metals, chip fabrication, all that sort of stuff. So you get into use the word sophistication associated with the understanding has suddenly broadened out. And everybody loved global supply chains. And now we're thinking, well, how fragile is that supply chain if it gets knocked? And what does it mean for me? So there's a lot of stuff going on, but there is a clear structure starting to form. But when you see bodies like the EU start to put white papers out on here's how we're going to think about it, and then all that legislation and regulation will flow from that, you can see it
framework
coming. Yeah.
And that's been the change really in how the industry has been approaching sovereign clouds as well. If you go back 5 years, 10 years, a sovereign cloud was all around bringing your own gates, guards, and guns. It was this bunker sort of scenario that was separate from the rest of the cloud. But what we're really seeing now is this idea of digital sovereignty is much more rooted in the idea that how do we participate fairly in the digital economy? How can we benefit? We realize there's a global supply chain. We're not going back away from that. We can't possibly understand local artisan silicon chips, in our own district. We know we're leveraging a global supply chain. We'll have global support. We want follow the sun support capabilities. We want to sell to customers locally and globally as well. And so all of these things make a complicated environment where you say, but I still need to be in control, and I still want to make sure that I can compete or participate fairly in this digital market as well. And that sense of fairness, I think, is what's really driving a lot of these discussions right now, that can I participate in the AI economy fairly, and especially for developing markets and other areas that can essentially see this as almost a leapfrog opportunity. Like, let's get in on the ground floor of this next technological revolution. What will that take to build the skills, the capabilities, the infrastructure, and the business models that allow us to compete fairly around the world?
And there's a really interesting shift in thinking around sovereign, just to pick up on your point, which is it's not that traditional bunker mentality anymore. And actually cloud can actually be a part of increasing your sovereignty. Your data centers are only sovereign whilst they're under your control. And say something like a cyber attack could take that away from you. Being able to move systems, redeploy them quickly, take advantage of the extra security you can get from cloud. Suddenly you can actually improve your sovereign posture by thinking about how you architect your systems differently. And then it's that, where are you putting it? How do you deploy it? And you're bringing a lot of flexibility about that choice as well. So I think I've seen personally a shift in the understanding of what and how you enable sovereignty. And then cloud is being a big part of the answer.
Exactly. And, if you think about the most serious and dire cases around the world for sovereignty, and we're back in 2014, when the first conflict started to happen in the Ukraine. Ukrainian organizations, to protect their sovereignty, were migrating from on-premises out of the country. Yeah. They needed that sovereignty to exist, even if kind of the land borders were no longer secure. And so that's a capability where cloud can provide that. And also a really interesting reminder that sovereignty is different for each organization, each industry, and each app will have a different level of sovereignty. And so we need a really flexible approach that spans from, the hyperscale cloud to private cloud infrastructure to domestic clouds or partner-hosted cloud capabilities as well. So cloud can't be a one-size-fits-all approach, can't be one answer. And I think cloud is more of an approach. It's a way of doing things. Backed up by this technological infrastructure.
Well, that's a wonderful pivot actually onto another subject I wanted to raise with you, which is the nature of what is cloud today, and it's very visible at the conference, where these conferences over the last 10 years have been very cloud centric, and just by the use of the word cloud, you would see it everywhere, and you would have cloud managed services and cloud this and cloud that on the various different things. Now, of course, it is wall to wall AI. Like the shift has happened in the dialogue, at least. But AI still sits within the cloud stack, doesn't it? And so in my mind, cloud remains the superset that we're talking about here. Cloud ways of working, cloud driven transformation, cloud financial models, etc., etc. And the stack within it, particularly the dev stack, has just got more, and the data stack, more and more and more sophisticated, which is getting us to the point of the AI conversation almost becoming the killer app for further movement to cloud that's happening within the sovereignty conversation you talk about. Is that a fair pen picture? How do you hold the changing nature of it?
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think the AI is very much a different era of computing. It's built on cloud, absolutely. But that's like saying cloud was built on client server. It's built on client server as well. Yeah. It's built on web technologies. And I think, what I've observed, even if you go back to the web era, enterprises would have an IT strategy and then have a web strategy, which was this different document, different set of capabilities. And very quickly it was like, no, it's all just the one IT strategy.
Right.
Then there was a cloud strategy, which is separate to the IT strategy. I think now we're in the moment where there's an IT strategy and an AI strategy. But if history is anything to go by, this is just another tool in the kit bag of how we deliver these services over time. But it is a fundamental transformation in the types of things. It expands the map, if you like, of what's possible with technology, with cloud technology. And I think that's the exciting part right now, that it's really forcing people to reimagine some things that have been clunky.
Right.
And the first wave you're seeing of this AI technology is around UX improvements. Right? They're not necessarily doing something new, but what they're actually doing is just providing like a natural user interface, providing a conversational guide to book my travel tickets or do my expenses, rather than figure out that painful tool every month that I only use once, as little time as possible.
You know what? I had to log into our expenses system the other day, mate. That didn't go very well.
No AI could manage your expenses.
See, if it was smart, I'd be like, can you remember what my hacked login name thing is?
He had a tantrum in the car. It was quite funny. He couldn't log in, and then he showed me his phone. He said, "Look, it's not working." And I went like this, plink, and it just started working. And all I'm saying is, have you heard the phrase PEBCAC?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think this was a PEBCAC issue. Do you know what that is?
I don't want to know.
Problem exists between chair and keyboard.
I didn't want to know.
You know what that means, Dave?
I've now intentionally forgotten that login thing again.
Just to frustrate me? Yeah. I have to remember his login. And then he turns to me and goes, "What's my login again?" I'm like, Dave.
He did the same yesterday. We had a video, and then he actually said, "But how do I save this?" "Oh, you come here," and I just pushed the button save. So
you're undermining my credibility as a host of a tech podcast.
I think
you did fix this very well. This situation,
you
did have a technical.
I keep my prowess on the lowdown.
Yes.
That was funny though.
Humility.
How do I save this? Probably the your best technical moment ever.
Don't tell anyone about it. I prefer my dunce reputation.
But it's just a good example. Like, we're in that early innings of this AI. It's being used for existing problems, existing tech. It's kind of being bolted onto these services. We haven't seen many truly cloud native use cases yet. Yeah. And I think John Link, who you're speaking to as well, that's an example as we think about like scientific computing and Microsoft Discovery. That I tend to think of as like, that's truly an AI native workload now. Now we're doing something that was just not possible before with traditional approaches. It would take 200 years for chemists to go through and do every experiment to get somewhere.
I love that example. And when we talked to John yesterday, he made many great points and one phenomenal recommendation for the Tiki Bar. But the point that I loved that he made was like, they started out on Discovery as being a quantum exploit. And then they realized, actually, you know what, we can build the platform already, and then we can plug in a quantum SDK when quantum goes, kind of live service. Amazing point. Yes. But that kind of brings me to maybe a concluding point is like, how does quantum fit in your world, and how terrifying must that be?
Yeah, I mean, quantum is like the next breakthrough technology as well. And when we think about quantum, it really exists in this continuum of capabilities as well. Quantum computer is really good at a certain level of calculations. It's really terrible at everything else. So it's not going to be a computer that exists on its own. What quantum computer is able to do is solve very hard scientific equations. If you think of like Planck's equation, Maxwell's equation, Schrodinger's equation, we've known about these equations for, in some cases decades, some cases hundreds of years. And they're easy to draw on a whiteboard, but they're actually very hard to compute. And what a quantum computer can do is just compute that so much better. And so what we'll be able to do with these quantum computers is essentially generate more synthetic data that's more accurate. And so I think of a quantum computer as just a big synthetic data generating machine that can solve problems we haven't been able to have the data, or data's been expensive. We've had to go and do wet lab experiments with Bunsen burners and beakers to try and get the data. Now we'll be able to get that synthetic data and train a better AI model. And the better quality of data you train a model with, the more useful it will be. And so interacting with these systems will be kind of through AI. And so that's one really interesting use case of quantum. The other one, of course, is quantum cryptography. And so, perhaps the first use of quantum computers will be to break all existing known quantum cryptography.
Right. And then reinvent
Day 2,
them.
reinventing. And then day 3, we'll get to the science, the interesting things. But that's kind of how as a cynic, I see the technology playing out, but it'll exist in this continuum as well.
But that sort of quantum safe crypto and updating your certs and everything to make sure you're secured now, that's going to be a bit of a scramble, I reckon, because some organizations are wired into it, advanced ones like your good selves who are starting to do it, but there's a lot of organizations out there that might be surprised that they've got to do a lot of stuff very quickly to protect themselves. But they're like collecting the data now, so if your data's being collected, it might be cracked in a few years, might still be useful and stuff like that, so it might have already happened. Who knows?
The harvest now, decrypt later approach is a common kind of risk that we're seeing more and more of. But the nice thing is we've built this quantum safe algorithms into all of our Azure hardware, into actually even our Windows hardware as well, into our operating systems. And so the platform work has been done.
Oh, that's good.
All that's missing is the key management server, if you like, the hardware.
Everybody loves a bit of cert management, don't they?
And so as soon as that quantum thing starts spitting out qubits, we'll be able to generate those keys, and the infrastructure will be able to take them. So
very cool.
That's
Alistair, if I hear you talk like that, we started out with the ecosystem and having to collaborate, multidisciplinary teams and collaborations, and now you dive into quantum. Communication and storytelling is so important here, isn't it? Also for your topic and the way you do infrastructure and everything that you do in cloud. Absolutely.
Right. The narrative defines the strategy most of the time. Like, there's plenty of teams that have strategy documents and strategies, but if there's no narrative behind it, it doesn't stick. So often, like, we think of these problems not necessarily as technical problems, they become socio-technical problems, and the social bit's actually perhaps more important in these wider teams, these multidisciplinary teams, than the technical capabilities itself.
Now, an amazing pivot point talking about stories, because one of the things we've been talking to all of our guests about this week is the intersection of science fiction and science reality as it's kind of happening right around us, and represented by the films of our past, where Hollywood has had an attempt at either representing our industry directly or maybe more science fiction-y. Are there any films that stand out for you that resonate in either a good way or a bad way?
Oh, there's plenty from my formative years. And I think the new science fiction is probably why I got into tech at a time where tech wasn't the global behemoth that it is now.
Right. Yeah.
But perhaps the one that stands out the most is Johnny Mnemonic.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Keanu Reeves.
I love Johnny Mnemonic. I think it was a box office flop, but it was young Keanu. It's based on a William Gibson story.
That's right.
About a data courier.
He didn't get it implanted in his head.
Brain. And to make room, he had to dump a chunk of long-term memory, my childhood.
Yeah.
And I think that line has stuck with me since.
That's so good
as well.
I like the impression as well. It's top notch, dude. And do you see that, like that kind of moving data around? So how does that apply to the Azure platform, do you think?
That's right. Well, luckily we have fiber. So that's right. But just, super fascinating, kind of the idea of this data security, this data encryption of like the human in the loop to kind of move this stuff around, monitor and operate the system. That all this automation, all of this AI and technology is great, but the people still matter. And I think that's something that's kind of interesting in a lot of that early cyberpunk stuff, that it was human stories as well. It was about the people like existing with this technology, not necessarily separate from it.
Well, and of course that the notion of kind of implanted technology is it very much with us, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, it's becomes part of us. I mean, we're all cyborgs now.
Yeah, right. And not only that, the notion of biological machines versus physics-based machines is happening around us as well.
It is, yeah.
Will we merge with technology, or will the singularity event occur? It's von Neumann's sort of thing, isn't it? About the path one, we merge with technology and the humanity sticks, or path two is singularity event, we're all in trouble.
Ez, can you guess which path Rob tends to err towards?
I have a thing about the human capacity to mess things up, so I tend to fall on the dystopian side of technology futures.
Yes, Humans have a great capacity to mess things up, but if you really need to make a mistake, you got to use a computer.
Oh, yeah. To get it scaled quickly.
That's right.
On that note, thanks for being a good sport, and thanks for your insight, Alistair. It's always fascinating as kind of we on our day jobs work on the Azure platform every day. So to get your insight has been really fascinating. Thanks for your time, man.
Thanks very much.
Cool. Well, have a great rest of the conference. Good to see you.
Want to dive deeper in today's topics and what they mean for you and your business? Drop us a line at cloudrealities@capgemini.com. We're all on Substack and on LinkedIn, so connect, DM, and send us your questions for future episodes. And hey, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It really helps us improve the show. A big thanks to Alistair, our sound and editing wizards Ben and Louis, producer Marcel, and of course you for tuning in. See you in another Microsoft Reality soon.